Good to go.
Hi guys, happy Saturday to everybody. I see so many familiar faces, so hi to all of you. I'm so happy that you are here. For those of you who this might be a first time seeing me in class here, my name is Sarah Ellis. I'm a designer for Beadalon, and I've got a really fun project for you guys. This one is actually a 2-for-1, so you're getting 2 pairs of earrings out of one class, which I love the value in that. More is always more. So I'm really excited to show these to you guys. These are going to be earrings that you very easily can recreate, and you can get all of the things that you need for these projects at Michael's, of course. And you're going to be able to change up the beads to kind of accommodate whatever kind of style or look you're going for. I did the original design in green for one of them. I'm going to use gray today, just to show you, the diversity of the colors and how it can change the look of a piece. And like I said, easy to recreate. You're going to need very minimal tools for this. You're just going to need your regular pliers, your chain nose, round nose, bent chain nose. I always have those on hand. So I've got 2 pairs to open and close jump rings, a cutter tool, and you're also going to need your nylon jaw pliers for this because we're going to do a knotted head pin today. Some of you have seen me do that before. For those of you who haven't, it's always a cool thing to know how to do when you're in a pinch, or if you just prefer it over your regular pre-made head pins. So let's get down to it. We're going to make 2 pairs of earrings. We're going to start with a really fun pair, and I'm going to save my favorite pair for the end. All right, so let's get right down to the mats here, and let's take a look. So we're gonna kind of cheat, and I honestly don't consider this cheating at all. So I say that in a joking way. But you may not know that at Michael's there are tons of pre-made components, and I am a huge fan of having a pre-made component that I can use to turn it into something that I want it to be. So these earring blanks are going to be what we use today. They're perfect because we don't have to worry about making our own wire hoop. We don't have to worry if we need to work harden or any of that. We can just take a plain hoop that already exists and turn it into something else. And hopefully what you'll learn is that you can do this with anything that you find. It doesn't have to be a hoop. It could be a teardrop. It could be, some sort of spacer. I love to use components and findings in different ways. So hopefully this will inspire you to kind of look at your shopping trips a little bit differently. So we're going to make 2 pairs of earrings. We're going to start with just one of these, and I'm going to show you what you're going to need. So from the original picture, whoops, sorry guys. Like I said, I did in green. And this was the card. You guys who've been with me before, I love these cards that have more than one strand, particularly more than one size on them. I feel like the value of these is really, really great because you can make tons of things with all of the beads with just one purchase, which is awesome. So I used all of the green ones, the very small ones, for the pair of earrings that you see in the photograph. But for today, I thought we would kind of go towards what the Pantone colors are. This is not exact, but it's pretty darn close. So I thought we would use these beautiful kind of gray. They're almost like a smoky gray color. And we're going to mix those with our gold component, which might be kind of out of the ordinary for some of you, but I feel like it was a really cool contrast, something just a little bit different. So that's going to be the beads that we use. And fortunate for you, Michael's has a ton of these in a bunch of different colors. So if you don't see a color that you like here, there is definitely a color available that you can use. And we're only using the small beads, so you'll still have 3 strands of beads to make matching pieces if you want, which is cool. All right, so you're also going to need some wire for this. And I am using a 24-inch piece of 24 gauge German style wire in gold color. So you can use silver if you want to, but I really do recommend the 24 gauge. If you do this a few times and you feel like you've got it down after you practiced it, you can go up to a 22 gauge if you want to. 20 gauge is a little tricky because it is just a little bit thicker, but the 24 gauge is really going to be your best bet for starting with. Okay, so you're going to need that. and of course, all of your tools. So we are going to start wire wrapping to our component, and then we're going to add beads as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my beads free here so that I have all of them ready to pick up and use. And you don't have to use the smallest ones on the card. You can use whichever ones you want. The big ones, the largest ones, obviously you're going to use way less of. In fact, you may only use a single one of the large beads if you're going to use those on the component, but it can still be done. Okay, so to get started, again, cut yourself a 24-inch piece of 24 gauge wire. That's easy to remember, 24 and 24. And you want to come to the end of that wire, and you want to lay that wire across your component. Give yourself a little bit of a tail here, probably 1.5 inches to 2 inches. And you want to wire wrap on to the component, either with the tail or with the working end. I'm going to kind of fold my tail over, and then I'm going to use the working end, which is the longer piece, to do my wire wrap. And I'm going to wire wrap about 3 or 4 times just to anchor this wire to the component. And I've wire wrapped pretty close, nice and tight. You don't want there to be any wiggle room. If you can slide it back and forth across the component, that's fine, but you don't want it to be so loose that when you let go, it falls down here to the bottom. Okay, so be sure that your wire wraps are tight, but you know, you do have a little bit of play there with them. All right, so once we have wire wrapped about 3 or 4 times to anchor our wire, we're going to take the tail end of our wire and we're going to pick up 3 of our little beads. So just use your wire like a needle, pick up 3, drop those down. Okay. When you drop those down, that first bead that you added is going to be sitting right on the outside edge of your component. Okay. Now you have to do this yourself because the wire is not going to just do it for you magically. You need to take your fingers and you're going to guide the wire and the beads into this little arch shape. And excuse me, I want the arch shape to be tight with my beads. In other words, I don't want there to be any wiggle room between those beads. I want them to be in a perfect little kind of triangle shape, and they're not going to go anywhere. They may spin this direction, but they're not going to move back and forth across that wire. Also, something to note is I want to continue the natural path of the wire. So the wire was actually coming around the component from the back up here to the front. I added my beads, and now the natural progression of that wire, since it was coming from the back, is to go across the front. Okay, that's really, really important. You want to be sure that you don't, don't go to the back and then wire wrap to the back. Go ahead and follow that same path. Okay, and bring that third bead should sit right on the outside edge of the component, and then you want to wire wrap about 3 times in between, and just go slow. The great thing about this component is it has a nice wide surface area on it, so you've got a great little area to wire wrap on, and you can kind of give yourself a break. It's not like wire wrapping onto a really thin little piece of wire where you're worried that your wraps are not tight. You've got a nice flat surface here, so you can see your wraps really well. And if you need to tidy them up, you've got enough room to come in here with your pliers and kind of squeeze on those and line them all up nice and straight. All right, so you're going to wrap around. I'm going to do 3 complete wraps between the 2 of them, which is actually going to end up being about 4.5 wraps, just because that's the way it works. And I have stopped again in a space where, just like where we were here, when I drop down 3 beads, they're going to sit on the outside of this component. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up 3 more beads. And you don't have to do 3. And you don't have to do them all in the same size, right? A lot of options here. So you can pick up 3 beads and do 2 of the small beads and 1 little bit larger, or you can pick up 2 beads instead of 3. You can even pick up 5. You're just making a little, it's kind of like a picot edge. For those of you who are seed beaders, you know the picot edge. That's sort of what we're doing here. We're making like a little beaded ruffle on the outside edge of our component. So same thing. We want to bend our wire containing those beads, and you have to really force it to go into that shape. It doesn't take a lot of struggle, but you do, you know, you have to encourage that wire to sit where you want it to go. Following the same path of that wire, we're coming towards the front of the component and we're going to wrap around. And again, that's going to be about 3 wraps, which ends up being more like 4.5. So, and when I say that, here's what I mean. So we've got like a half a wrap started where we've added our beads. There are 3 full wraps, and then our wire is coming up the back. So that's how I say 3.5 or 4. You know, it's not exact. In other words, you're wrapping around more times than you actually think you are. All right, so now we're just going to keep going. We're going to fill up the outside of this component with these beads. So we're just going to work our way around, and you're going to end up with, I believe, 8 of these cute little ruffles of beads on the edge of your component. So the wire's coming from the back, added my 3 beads on, kind of curve them into the position that I want them to be, and then wrap. Okay, so there are those. We're going to add number 4. So here's 3 more of our beads. You can change the color up on these beads too. Don't feel like you have to stick with what I've done. I've just done all gray, but you could mix these up and make these, you know, any color that you wanted to, any color combinations that you wanted to, and they're going to be beautiful no matter what. So there's 3. I'm going to wrap around again. And we are at the halfway point for our little ruffles here. And if you need to go ahead and cut your tail off, you can. I think I will go ahead and do that just to kind of get it out of my way. I don't like to cut it initially because I use it to kind of hold on to everything. But once I've got a couple of these little sections of beads, I'm comfortable enough to come in and trim that off. And you can use your pliers to kind of push it down and tuck in that end. Run your finger across it and make sure that it's not going to stick out and poke you or get caught in your hair. That's never any good. All right, so now we've got 4. We need 4 more, and then we're going to finish this off. And these are quick and easy. I'm telling you, this is like instant gratification jewelry, but you know, there's a little bit more to it than just like simple stringing. So you're using some technique here for sure. And we're going to do a knotted head pin, which also takes this to kind of a step up from just your regular jewelry. All right, so there's 3 wrapping around. Okay, we're ready to add 3 more beads. Okay, drop those down. This would be a beautiful pendant as well. Absolutely. And if you were going to turn this into a pendant instead of making earrings out of it, just a little extra idea for this. As you're coming around, when you get to the bottom here, and actually since we're doing 8 of these, we'll have an opening here in the center. You could actually hang something from here, or you could skip the beads in the middle altogether so that you have an opening to add jump rings and other kind of dangles and fun things from this, maybe even a tassel. You also have this area here where we're going to add beads to this, but you don't have to. A lot of different things you can do. I love making earrings for that reason in particular, because they can always be altered and turned into a really beautiful pendant or a connector on a bracelet. Lots of versatility with earrings. You can take one design and get several different things out of it. So there's 3. And it looks like we've got one more to go, and then we will finish this off. And those wire wraps were a little far apart for my taste, so I'm gonna come in and just squeeze those together. Make them do what you want them to do. You're the boss of that wire. Don't let it tell you what it wants. You get to decide where that goes. Okay, 3 more beads. Drop that down. And we're going to secure these. All right, so I cut my piece of wire extra long, so I do have plenty of leftovers here, and I'm going to use that leftover wire to make my knotted head pin with. But first, I'm going to go ahead and trim it off. Run your finger over that. If you need to come in with your pliers, do that as well. Okay. Now, if you wanted to be done with this and add the ear wires to it and call it a day, you could, and it's still a beautiful piece of jewelry. It would be a beautiful pendant. It would be a beautiful earring, just like it is. But because we have this big opening, I do want to kind of take advantage of that. So we're going to add a dangle here in the middle. And to do that, we're going to use this piece of wire that I had left over. If you don't have any leftover wire, just go ahead and cut yourself a piece. You're only going to need about 4 inches, and that might be a little bit much. But when you're just learning how to do the knotted head pin, it's better to have more of the wire than to not have enough. So I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers, and I'm going to grab the very tip of that wire with the very tip of my pliers. Okay, so grabbing the tip at the tip, that's really important. Don't come back here, you know, towards the back, and don't come down on the wire. It needs to be at the tip of the wire and the tip of the pliers. You're going to take the pliers, and I roll my pliers instead of the wire, and you're going to roll around 1 time. And then I'm going to roll around a 2nd time. What this does is this creates a little coil out of your wire where you coiled around twice. Okay. And you want to stop where you see the cut in your wire. That's how you know you've gone 2 times around. Now, hold your pliers this direction, because this is the step where some people get kind of tripped up with this, because your natural inclination is going to be to bend your wire this direction so that it is going away from the 2 coils that you made. But you want this to go underneath. And so the best way to do that is to keep this on the tool, hold the pliers so that they are running, you know, this direction. They're not up and down, they're going side to side, and bend your wire out this way so that that wire is actually running underneath the coils that you've created. Okay, now you can take the wire off, and this is what you've got. I need to trim some of this off because I have way too much wire. All right, so you've got a little coil, your wire is running underneath, and we're going to take the tail end of that wire and we're going to bend it back and go through the little coils that we made. So when you hold it up, it looks like a little lasso or like a speech bubble, like in a cartoon, right? Or a lopsided balloon, whatever you need to call it to remind yourself, this is the shape that you're going for, okay? And now you want to come in with your nylon jaw pliers. You want to grab the wire right up against those 2 coils that you made. Don't leave any wiggle room here. There's no room for wiggling today. We've got to have those coils right up against the edge of the pliers. The wire is coming through the pliers. I'm going to take my bent chain nose pliers just because I prefer those. I'm going to grab the wire and I'm going to pull. And what I'm doing is I'm just pulling a knot into the wire, which also makes a pretty little rosette shape. But we've created a head pin out of our wire. Excuse me. So this is really handy to have if you've run out, right? If you've run out of pre-made head pins and eye pins, or if you want an exact match for your colors, because a lot of times you'll have your wire in one color, but maybe your head pins don't quite match. There may be a shade lighter or a shade darker. This is the perfect way to make sure that all of your pieces of your jewelry match. Okay, now it's super important before we move on from this. It's really, really important that you realize that You have to use the nylon jaw pliers for this. If you do not use the nylon jaw pliers and you grab this wire and pull that knot through a pair of regular chain nose pliers, you're going to strip the coating off of the outside of this wire and it's going to damage the wire. So only do this with nylon jaw pliers. If you don't have these in your arsenal of tools, I highly, highly recommend that you grab some. Okay, so now we've got our little head pin ready and we're going to add some beads to this. We're going to, let's go up a size with our beads. I'm going to use the next 2 sizes up. So I'm going to trim these off. So I've got this one and I'm going to use this one. Whoops. There we go. All right, I'm going to thread those on to our little head pin that we made. Drop that down. Drop that one down. And now we're going to create a wrapped loop on the top here and we'll connect everything together with some jump rings. Okay. So we're going to grab the wire right where it is exiting the bead. Don't come up here, be right where it is exiting the bead. Okay. Keep those pliers nice and tight. Then you want to bend the wire over the top of the pliers. Let the pliers do all the measuring for you because now when you take the pliers away, you've got that space in between there. It's already there for you. That's the space where you're going to come in with your round nose pliers. It's also the space where you're going to create your wraps. So you come in with your round nose pliers, hold the pliers stationary, take the wire up and over the top barrel of the pliers. Okay, so you've got this little shape. Now we need to take the wire over to the other side, but we can't because the bottom barrel of the pliers is in the way. So I can't complete that loop. So I'm going to rotate the pliers. So now the bottom barrel of the pliers is the top barrel and I can take that wire all the way over to the other side. That's going to help me close up my loop. I'm going to switch hands and wire wrap in between the loop and the bead. Okay, so I had room for about 4 wire wraps. Don't push it. If you can only get 3 or you can only get 2, don't push it because you'll risk cracking the top of your bead. Now I'm going to do what I call the slouchy sock. I don't always do this, but sometimes when I'm using 24 gauge wire, I like to make it a little bit thicker and it looks like a slouchy sock. Sometimes that's why I call it that. So I wrapped from the loop down 4 times. My wire is still sticking out. I've got extra wire here. I'm going to go back over those wraps that I made from the bottom to the top. And it just kind of looks like, remember in the 80s when we had the scrunchy socks? It's kind of what it reminds me of. So I just doubled up my wire wraps. That's all I did. You don't have to do that part if you don't want to. That's totally up to you. It doesn't create any more, stability by any means. It's just a design choice. Okay, so now I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and trim off the tail of that wire. And we're ready to add this to our earring. Okay, so we're going to need to use some jump rings to do that. And I'm going to grab, excuse me, I'm going to grab a series of jump rings here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my ear wire so we can put everything all together. All right, so I'm going to take a jump ring between 2 pairs of pliers, holding it so that the opening of that jump ring is facing away from me. And I'm going to open the jump ring by moving 1 pair of the pliers. It's just a twist, right? Don't pull them apart, just twist it, kind of walk it open. You're going to thread on your bead. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and close that back. Now, at this point, you can use as many jump rings as you want to make your connection here. You can use a series of jump rings. The more jump rings you add, the further down this is going to hang. All of that's going to be up to you, but jump rings is going to be the way to achieve that. I'm going to need, let's see, I'm going to grab a 6mm jump ring, actually. So get a little bit bigger jump ring here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to open this jump ring just like that. I'm going to thread on my dangle, right? And then I'm going to thread that into the loop on my component. Uh-oh. That bead jumped right off of there. All right, so I'm going to hold it, and then I'm going to come in with my pliers, close that back. Make sure you get a really good closure on that. So now you've got your dangle hanging in the middle, and we're just going to add our ear wire to this. And again, I'm going to need to use a few jump rings just to create some space between the component and the ear wire. So I'm going to open another 4mm jump ring. I'm going to thread that on, close it back. And because of, let me show you, because of the direction that my jump ring and my ear wire, see how the loops on both of those are facing the same direction? I'm going to need another jump ring to be the go-between so that my ear wire hangs this direction instead of this direction. Okay, so just one more little jump ring. That's why I stick with the small ones, because they don't create a ton of extra length. They're just doing their job. So here's one more, if I can get it through there. One more jump ring. I'm going to close that back, and then I'm going to add the ear wire to that. Okay. And one pair of our earrings is complete. And we're going to do one more pair that are going to work up even quicker than these, but completely different with the exact same component. Okay. So there is one look, right? You just repeat all those steps to create the mate, which makes a really fun pair of earrings. Or you can create another pair with the same component and get a completely different look. So let's do that. All right, so same component. I'm gonna move all my beads out of the way here, okay? And this time I'm gonna use some Czech glass rounds for this. I love these, this metallic, so pretty. So we're only gonna use 7 of these for an earring. So we're still going to have plenty of these left over. So you use 14 total. Okay. So go ahead and grab 7 of your beads, and then you're going to need another piece of your 24 gauge wire. So same gauge of the wire. You can use about 20 inches for this. And you're going to be able to kind of alter this a little bit as well by changing up how much of the wire you use. Okay. So we're going to start out the same way, except that when we anchor our wire, we're going to anchor our wire further down. And I'm actually going to start on this side instead of this side. So I'm going to come past the halfway, right? So if we're looking at this, if we're looking at it like it's a clock, and keep in mind, it might be backwards for you. I'm not entirely sure which direction you'll be seeing this. So it's either going to be at 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock. And we're going to come down just a little below that. Okay. So not 3 o'clock and 9. Well, yeah, I guess it would be. Give myself a second here. It's at 15 minutes or 45 minutes. There we go. You know what I'm saying. All right. So it's a little bit below that. Okay. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to use my tail again to anchor my wire. I'm just going to wrap that around about 4 times. I try to stay away from numbers when it comes to jewelry making. Oh, goodness. All right. So there I've wire wrapped and anchored my wire. Okay. Now I want to keep my wire, the working end of the wire, away from the component. Okay. And I'm going to thread on all 7 of my Czech glass beads onto this. So you can thread them on in any pattern you want to, but the cool thing about these metallics is that they all go together. So it doesn't, you don't have to pick a pattern. They all go. All right. So I've thread on all of my beads. Now what I want to do is I want to guide these beads around the curve of the bottom of the component. Okay. As close as I can get. Right. And again, you're going to have to be the one to make that wire do, because it's not going to just naturally do that for you. You got to really make it do that. You're going to come around here to the other side and wire wrap. Okay. And you may have to go around the component once or twice and then kind of readjust your beads, because mine have kind of opened up the space in between there. That's okay. All of this can still be adjusted until we do all the extra wire wrapping. Okay, so just kind of hold everything in place. It's all going to move a little bit on you at first. I'm holding all those beads, wrapping around. Okay, now comes the fun part. We've attached our beads. Now we're going to take our wire and we're going to go back the other direction. So now I'm going to wrap over the wraps that I just created. Okay, about 2 times. Okay. Now I'm going to wrap between each bead. So I'm guiding the wire between these 2 beads. I'm going to wrap between them and around the component. Then I'm going to go to the next ones, coming between them and around the component. And I'm going to do that for each one of the beads. Okay. So it looks like this wire is holding our beads to the component. It's really not. It's really just a decoration because the wire wraps on either end are what is holding this. Okay. So all the way back around here to the other side. And I've still got plenty of wire. So I'm going to wrap around my wraps that are here once, twice. And now I'm actually going to go back the other direction. So now I'm going to go between, right? And wrap between and around the component. So we've just gone back the other direction. We're just kind of filling up the space in between the beads with these fun little wire wraps. At this point, all it is just decoration. And that's why I say you can adjust this, because if you want to use more wire, you can go more times and fill up, you know, and have extra wire going back and forth. I'm going to wrap around again. I'm going to use up almost all of the wire that I have. So I'm going to go back again the other direction. You do this as many times as you want to with as much wire as you've got, or you can just leave it to 2 times. It's totally up to you. Okay. All right, made it to the other end. And now I'm going to wire wrap a couple of times, and I'm going to trim it off, and I'm going to trim the tail off that I had. And that's it. We're just going to add an ear wire to this. And you can, I only use 7 beads for this because I wanted to kind of keep it down here towards the bottom of the component, but use this exact same technique and fill up the entire surface of the component if you want to, right? You don't have to stick with just it being down here at the bottom. You can start way up here and go all the way around with your beads. It's just going to take more wire. So just keep that in mind. Like any of those changes that you're going to make, you're going to obviously need to adjust your measurements for your wire. But for 7 beads and going through what we went 3 times, once across, back, and then back again, you are only going to need about 20 to 24 inches of wire to do that. But anything more, you definitely want to increase your wire. I saw that there was a question that said, could you add small beads in between here? You absolutely could. You could take your wire, and after you've attached everything, I would go through here at least once with just the wire. But when you come back the other direction, if you wanted to add 2mm beads, 3mm beads, or seed beads, you absolutely could add, and you would just coil those beads around just like you would with the wire. Just be careful, of course, not to crack your smaller beads by wrapping them too tight. But yeah, you absolutely can add or take away from this. And then of course, you've still got this open area here. So you can, just like with our first earring, you can add an extra little dangle to the middle if you want to. But more than anything, you get to see that the same component, and you get a few of these little components in the package, so you can make several pairs of earrings and they don't all have to look the same, right? You can use different beads and different techniques on the exact same component and get completely different looks. Let's add 2 jump rings and an ear wire to this to make this one a completed earring. And of course, you would just follow all of the steps again to create the mate for this one. And of course, just like with the first one, you can change this up. You can turn it into a pendant if you want to. You can do this on a smaller component. You can do it on a teardrop. It doesn't have to just be a round component. Change up the colors, change up the shapes of the beads, so many different options, which is always a lot of fun. And I hope that I always show you guys that when it comes to my classes. I really want to be sure that I'm inspiring you, you know, to either recreate these or to turn it into something that is truly unique to you. All right, so I'm going to add my ear wire and I'm going to call it done. And then I'll turn you guys around. I'll try these on so you can see what they look like, because it does help to see them on as opposed to just laying flat. And then I'll let you guys go for the day. So there you go. You can see them nice and flat. I'm going to turn you around here. Hello again. All right. So let me show you the first pair. That's these guys, remember? Now these are kind of a big earring, right? I'm always kind of in the mindset of go big or go home. But I realized this is a large earring, and that was kind of the point. These were called Zoom earrings because, you know, when you do your Zoom meetings, you want to be sure that you've got like some fun. Well, you don't want to be sure, but maybe that's your style, right? To have some big fun jewelry on that everybody can see. So that's why these were big, but you can always alter these to make smaller designs. So there are those, very spring looking, right? If you changed up your colors, you could make them look almost like flowered vines that are going around the component. Really, really pretty. And they're very lightweight, which I love. The components themselves are very lightweight, but sturdy. So you can do quite a bit with them. So there are those. And then I'll show you the others just so you can see. Maybe. All right, there we go. I love those. I'm a huge fan of those. And I think it's not just the technique, but it's really those beads. I'm in love with that metallic kind of look. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think they're really cool. Very, very fun, lightweight, versatile. You can do a lot of different things with these, and the components, you can dress those up however you want to, right? You can use your wire, your beads, and your imagination to come up with all kinds of designs with the exact same components. So definitely a value for sure. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me for this class today. I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope that I've inspired you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm always available and willing to help if you get stumped with some sort of design issue. So please don't hesitate to reach out. You guys, I will see you again with another class very, very soon. Thank you for joining me, and have a great rest of your weekend. Bye, guys.